people watching Craig talk his head off fans. Anyway, so going back into, and I mentioned in an earlier, or in the introduction here, I'm going to go through what I have to do pre-operation in terms of preventive maintenance checks and services. Anybody that served in the military, I'm sure, is used to that term. But this is the walkthrough, basically the PMCS items I'm taking in terms of the equipment to make sure my wife and I have safe and sound and enjoyable experiences out in the field. I've already done a little bit on the trike. I always take care of that. Charlotte's very well maintained. She's dirty right now, but she's going out again tomorrow, so I will be declining the bath option. She'll get her end of season bath and black diamond treatments here at the end of the month before I store it. But today I'm mostly going into the other side. I do plenty of on the trike. I've got a range of videos out there and winter service series out there on the trike. The Trike Travels and Tag About You provides you with a lot of image as well. And today is about necessary items I need to conduct maintenance, to make sure when I go to the field and I pull a camera or a drone out, it doesn't go, what just happened, or the battery's dead, or so on and so forth. So the first and most important thing to any successful mission is planning. So we've already selected our destination for this week's expedition. We're going up to the high elevations in Telluride. Going to be doing some filming up in Lizard Head Pass, up in the San Juan Mountains, and I'm hoping to get back on some back roads and so on and so forth. So I'm still doing my plotting in terms of actual places to visit, but we know the general area where we're going. Now I'm in the point where I need to make sure that my film equipment is ready. So I break out the travel case and I bring all 3 cameras on every mission. I may not use them, but they're all available to me. This is the case for the R2S. And there's the R2S. What I basically do is going through that process right now. Is the first thing I do is I'll go through and make sure all the batteries are charged. I can set up the charging station on one plug and the remote, get it charging. The craft uses those, so it doesn't need anything to do. Once the charging is set in all 3 batteries, then I take and turn on the remote while I'm here in the wireless land of connectivity, and I do a check for updates. And then after I do a check for updates, I do a check for firmware updates. First set of updates is for the software in this fella, and then the firmware updates are for the firmware in here to be able to fly the craft. And then also, these are intelligent batteries that must be checked from time to time. I do that weekly as well, even though it really isn't necessary. So from there, I move on to the Air 2. This is a little bit faster process, the Mini 2, excuse me. The Mini 2 has this cool charging triple bank that also acts as a power supply. They call this a 2-way power supply. So while it will accept charge, you can also use it to charge a phone. And it does work on the C-type battery outlets. It's got an outlet plug right there. That charge in on the C-type, you charge out on the outbound type, and you use that little power button to activate it. But that's handy for more than just flying your drone. It's also very handy in case you run low on cell phone juice and so on and so forth. Same process as with the Air 2S. With this controller, I have to get out my S9 cell phone. I have a Samsung S9 Plus. Pardon me. Get out the cell phone, hook up the remotes, get it all set up and laid out, go into DJI Fly software, do a check for updates, and then of course I also do, once that's complete, especially if there's an update that comes through, then you check for firmware. I'll mention that also here, go back to this. If there's no updates on the checkup, then I don't do a firmware check. You need the one to help the other, they're hand in hand. So, but I'll just basically also clean both the craft, make sure that they're ready. Hook this up to the chargers, make sure all 3 batteries are charged. That makes sure I got 2 hours of power in the field. And then I connect the remotes also with the C-type charger, go from there and do the updates and so on and so forth. I then can either do that at the same time, because this is my mini station. I can set everything up and run the power leads in and do that all at once. I don't have a charger feature yet, so I have to use the craft for the Mini 3 for the time being. That's coming in on the next pay cycle. But for me out in the field, I am still pretty much as ready, because not only do I fly with the standard stock battery. It's marked with the 249. I also fly with the extended. Now the extended battery is not marked with the 249. The extended battery is also quite a bit heavier and will put you overweight. But I do get, and I was able to field test that, I get exactly 42 minutes of flight on this battery, and then I get the extra 30 minutes of flight total on the other. So an hour 15 to fly this craft on the 2 batteries I currently have, hour and a half on these 3 batteries. So I'm pretty close. And Mini 3 to me is a much funner craft because it's more capable in the wind. Once that's done, I go into and start back on my list, and then I go into my handheld cameras. I just use a basic Pix Pro Kodak. I use the AZ362. They make a 562 model that I looked at. But this is just me taking pictures of me. I do like to do presentations as well. I'm starting to play with those and editing a little bit more. But this just gives you that, this is my fast shooter that I keep in the car, and so on and so forth. And I'm sorry, I can't stand cell phone cameras. I'm shocked I'm making this movie on the cell phone. So basically what I do is this is at an age where it really doesn't update anymore. There's no real way to check for firmware updates on it. Like I said, it's been in existence for about 15 years, or manufactured for about 15 years or so. So there's nothing new here. And it's very easy to maintain. I just make sure my battery's charged, and I have some Duracell backups that I use for this as well. I make sure I have full power on this. This is a little different. This is my GoPro 8. And this is a great tool. You'll notice he's a little funky today. Fresh bugs from the last ride. I fly that in the RC, or excuse me, in the multimedia cage. And then right now I'm finishing up on charging its last remaining battery, and I'll be completing that here shortly.